Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live session. Today is May 16, 2025, Friday. This session is all about stripping away your ego to manifest success, stripping away your ego to manifest success. Welcome to another live session. Such an honor and privilege to be here every week. I feel like I learn as much from you as I hope that you learn from me. I feel like learning is always a two-way exchange of energies, and we never stop learning. So today's topic again is stripping away ego to manifest success. And if you have any questions about the topic or other topics during this session, please let me know. Please put your questions on the chat. And I just came back from a wonderful, beautiful conference in Silicon Valley, and it was, had a lot to do with AI and technology and all kinds of things. And it was just a beautiful conference. As you may know, we're building an AI platform for traditional Chinese medicine healing system. And we're really well underway to building it. So the first iteration of it is actually going to be released in a few months, I would say. And so that's really exciting. So again, welcome to a live session of stripping away your ego to manifest success. So I want to talk about what that really means energetically to strip away your ego and some tools to be able to do so. Okay, so let's clear the energy of the room and then let's get started. Just relax, be present in the now, breathe naturally. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, and masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create this sacred space. Thank you so much for allowing us to talk about this topic of stripping away our ego to manifest success. Thank you so much for allowing us to engage with beautiful conversations, exchange positive energy to allow us to understand our ego and what it means for us, and allow us to understand that part of us so that we may let it go, be free more of that part of us so that we may become powerful creators. Thank you so much for allowing this session to go off without a hitch. Thank you for removing any low frequency energies that do not belong or support our highest and best interest during the session. And thank you so much for allowing this session to flow with peace, serenity, and beautiful engagement and exchange of ideas amongst each other. And thank you. And so it is. Namaste. Okay. Thank you so much. Again, the topic for today is stripping away ego to manifest success. Okay, so what does that really mean? What is really the definition of ego in terms of energetically? What is the ego, and what how does that play into how we think, how we behave, and how does it really apply to our life? Our ego is really any thoughts that we form, any type of thoughts that we have that we allow to bring into our conscious and subconscious mind. Thoughts of form, thoughts that become influenced and influences us because we allow it in, whether it's from the white noise of society, whether we're reading something, whether we're seeing something on the internet or reading a book, or whether somebody is saying something to us. The ego mind is the mind that's here, that wants to be rational, that wants to be A, B, C, D, E, F. And there's definitely a place for the ego mind. It's not that the ego mind has no place or role in our lives. It absolutely does. It's sort of more the rational side of us, but it tries to make order out of things, order out of the world, order out of the universe, order out of what what we are experiencing in this life. And it tries to kind of rationalize it. And that part of our ego mind, the part of us that ego is important so that we can solve problems. Because when we're building like an engineering problem, there's some level that it requires rational thinking. It requires that ego mind to be able to put things into place and structure it and organize it in a way that is beautiful, that makes sense, and that's going to actually work in the real world. So when we are, planning or designing an airplane, we need the rational mind, right? We're designing and planning a building, we need the rational mind. So we actually need the ego mind for a lot of things. But the ego mind also tends to attach itself to form. So it tends to attach itself to material things, whether it's, money or, the material world. It tends to attach itself. And so that layer of that ego mind is a two-sided coin. It's yin and yang. I always say everything's a two-sided coin. Everything has its yin side and its yang side. And that's why we have to balance that ego mind. We don't want to completely get rid of it. There's a reason for that ego mind because it does help us when we apply it correctly, but we don't want it to overrun us, overtake everything that we do in our lives because the ego mind can bring in a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety and stress that makes us debilitated, that doesn't really understand our infinite power, infinite potential, infinite possibilities. And so when we say stripping away the ego mind, we're stripping away the ego mind that does not really serve us, that keeps us into a fear mode, that keeps us into limiting belief mode, that keeps us into like this box, that keeps us in a box, and that prevents us from transcending or being able to move out of the box, in the box, tries to keep us in the box. And when we tries to keep us in the box, we're not expressing our infinite potential. And so the ego mind is a two-sided coin. On the one hand, it can be useful to have some rational thinking to build, design, and create. On the other hand, it could bring in a lot of fear, undue anxiety, stress, and keep us feeling limited, keep us from expressing the highest potential of who we are and expressing the infinite possibility of who we are. Because you are infinite in nature. By nature, you are infinite. By nature, you have such unique talents and gifts that are special to you that when expressed, you could express the highest version of who you are and have and tap into that infinite possibility of your life. And so the ego is a two-sided coin here, two-sided coin. And the other thing that the ego mind tends to do is it tends to attach itself to form, attach itself to people, which I don't blame people for attaching yourself to people, right? Because you love those people or your animals or your pets. You attach yourself to form. You attach yourself to money. You attach yourself to your home or your car or the material world that the ego mind seems to attach itself to that form. And sometimes when you attach yourself too much to that form, it creates suffering and pain, and it creates fear, limitations, and anxiety. And so that ego mind can start to really prevent you again from feeling like you have infinite potential, from feeling that, from tapping into possibilities into your life that you could have if you weren't so ruled by the ego mind. So when the ego mind starts to take over in every aspect of your life, that's when it no longer serves you. And that's what we're talking about here. We are talking about the ego mind basically taking over, running the show. The ego mind should always be kept in check. Kept in check. You're not my master. I'm your master. You want to be a master over your ego mind. But often we have the ego mind become our masters. And when the ego mind becomes our masters, we no longer have control over ourselves and our lives. And we hold ourselves back. And so this is really what this talk is about. It's like, how do I control that ego mind? How do I become the master of that ego mind and not allow it to be a runaway train? How do I manage it? How do I manage it in a way that serves me but does not control me? How do I manage it so that it serves me but that does not control me? Hi, Jenny Jones. Hi, Botanical Bro 888. Greetings, Empress Mucha. Oh, that's so sweet. In regard to ego, I think it's just an issue of balance. The ego has to be balanced like many aspects of our awareness. I agree. I totally agree with that. What a beautiful, insightful wisdom. Balance. That's what it is. It's always about balance, right? No matter if you're always doing extreme, if anything's extreme, it's no longer going to serve you. So we need the ego mind, but we need to keep it in check. So we want to become the masters of our ego mind, make it subservient to us. We don't want the ego mind to take us over. And that's when we get into trouble. Is the ego mind is really running the show, is running the show, is taking over. And that's when it becomes a runaway train that is hard to pull back. It's hard to stop. It's hard to pause. And so I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we're going to be managing this ego mind so that we make it work for us as opposed to it having to control us. There's a difference between control and having it work for us at the highest level so that we can become powerful manifestors of our lives. And so the one of the ways that we allow the ego mind to become a runaway train is that we're very indiscriminate of what we allow into our minds. We become very indiscriminate, not discerning, and we just let it in. And we let it in as if it were true. We let it in as if it is our reality. We let things in that doesn't really serve the highest and best interest of us. So a lot of times when we're living in this society, because we're all living and interacting with everybody in this world and planet, there's a lot of white noise of society, right? People saying this on media, you're seeing things on social media, and people saying this about you, and they're saying this and that, and you should be this, and you should look like this, and you should do this, and you should. There's a lot of shoulds out there, right? You should do this, you should do that, you should, pursue this, blah, blah. There's a lot of conditions to why we might be worthy. So society would say, well, if you're educated, that makes you a worthy person or that makes you a better person, right? It's not true. You could educate yourself. You could educate yourself. You don't have to even go to college, especially with AI. Why do you even need to go to college anymore? I think college, I think for some professions, college is very, very important. I think college is great for like research, or if you're going to become a surgeon, good idea to go to medical school, right? I wouldn't want to go under a knife without the surgeon having gone through medical school and internships and experience, right? So no doubt that education can be an incredibly useful thing. But one of the things that our society says is that if you go to college, then you're somehow better. You're somehow better because you might be more knowledgeable. So that's a condition that our society places on us, right? It's a condition that going to college or having higher education is something that makes you a better person or more worthy than somebody else. It makes you better than somebody else. And I think that's such a false premise. I think it's wonderful to go to college if you choose to go to college, but if you choose not to go, I think you could still do great things and you're just as worthy. So that's a condition that society places on us, and we take it in. Our ego mind takes it in and say, yes, if I go to college, I will be more worthy. And that makes me more worthy, smarter, and all those things. And I went to college. It's not like I didn't go to college. I went to a very expensive college. But, and I think it's great if you want a college, but I don't think we should say to somebody that doesn't go to college that they're less than. We also place lots of other conditions in our society. We place conditions saying, "Oh, well, if you have this amount of money, then you are better, right? If you have this much money in the bank account, that makes you better. That makes you smarter. That makes you more worthy somehow." Another condition that we've placed on society that, will maybe because there are many people that may not have that financial wealth. Does that make them less of a person? Absolutely not. So our ego mind takes that in and say, because I don't have this much in the bank account, that makes me somehow less worthy, less this, less that. Another white noise that we listen to, another white noise of society that we might listen to is, you should do this. Somebody said you should be a lawyer because for some reason the parents wanted to be lawyers and now is trying to live through their children. Say, you should be a lawyer. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't. And then because the parents are so impressionable on children, they're the greatest influence of children. They take that in. The children say, "Oh God, I should be a lawyer. I should really, I don't, my soul says pursue something else, but I'm pursuing this because this is what my parents are telling me. They're telling me I should be a lawyer. And so I should not pursue this. I should pursue that, what they're telling me." Again, that white noise, the ego mind is taking it in. And so as we start taking in all this data from the outside world and we keep taking it in as if it was true for ourselves, the ego mind starts to become bigger and bigger. It takes over, it takes over, it takes over. Rather than really saying, is this true for me? Does this resonate with me? Does this make me less worthy? Or does it, rather than asking those questions to ourselves before we allow it to be brought in, all of this information, tons of information that we just allow in, we need to pause and stop. When somebody says something, does it resonate with you? Does it resonate with your soul? Because your soul, is it your soul's journey? Is it your soul's path? Does it resonate with it? Does it align with it? But rather, we take it in as if it's true. And the more we take it in, the more it becomes embedded in the subconscious mind. And the more we believe that is our reality. And the more we behave, we basically operate about 95% of the way we operate is based on our subconscious mind. And so the more we keep absorbing this and the more we allow it to come in, the more we train that subconscious mind and the more we behave in that way. And so if we, for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, we believe that we could not make money because, you haven't made money for the last 10 years, the more you believe that, the more you're going to manifest a lack of not making money, we're going to manifest lack rather than abundance. And so this ego mind, it's a layer of ourselves that we have to be very careful of. It's more of the outer layer. It's like looking at the ocean. I think the ego mind is like looking at the ocean. The ocean, you have the surface and then you have the depth here. The ego mind is kind of the surface right here. It's not down here. It's the first layer that we take in this information, and that layer is important for what we're going to bring into the depths. So it's like the ocean. If something hits the ocean, it's going to hit the outer layer, the surface of the ocean first, and then eventually it's going to go down and down and down and down, and it's going to go into the depths of the ocean. So your soul is really down here and the ego mind's here. The surface is here. But if you keep dropping the same thing over and over again, right? it's going to eventually go down, down, down. It's going to go into that deeper mind, and it's going to really create that sense of anxiety, stress, and fear. Why do we create so much anxiety, stress, and fear? Because we're not confident in our direction. We're not confident in who we are. We question ourselves. We question who we are. We question everything about our lives because the ego mind is messing with us. When the ego mind messes with us, we don't have faith, we don't have confidence, we don't have clarity. It's confusing. It doesn't feel right. Something feels wrong. Something doesn't feel like it's the right direction. It feels icky. You know what I'm saying? So, this is why the ego mind is something that must be checked because it's that outer layer of who we are. And so we could start to look at the ego mind. It's like we're like an onion. Look at it yourselves as like an onion. You have all of these layers, right, of who you are. And then there's that core part of that onion, and that's the seat of the soul, that core part of the onion. And you've got these layers, 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 layers. They're surrounding the outside of the onion. And what do you do? The first thing is when I peel an onion, this morning I was slicing up an onion. What did I do? I immediately remove the outer layer of the onion, and I threw it out. That was the immediate thing I did was the outer layer of the onion. I threw it out. And then you get into all the other layers, right? And so with the ego mind, it's more of that outer layer that we have to manage. We have to say, is this outer layer serving me or is it taking over my life? And so that layer of who you are is something that you want to look out for in a very conscious, self-aware way. You have to have an awareness of that ego mind. You have to have, because once you have an awareness of that ego mind, that's when you can control it. And the way most people are running around is that they're running around with no control over it. And they don't even know that they have no control of it. They don't even know that the ego mind has taken over. And that they're operating based on that almost by default. Because if for 20 years you've been have a certain belief system, then you're operating on that level by default, right? It's by default. And there's no awareness of it. There's no awareness that you are holding, you are taking in this information that does not serve you, that does not align with really your infinite potential, that does not align with your ability to express yourself at the highest level, that doesn't align with your natural talents and gifts, that doesn't align with the seat of your soul, of what purpose you're here, the higher purpose you're here for, and that soul's journey and path doesn't align with it. And so, oh, hi, Jax 10. I need to hear this. Oh, so true. Oh, I'm so glad that this is resonating with you. So we are living in, so when we let that ego mind take over, we're living in almost like a blur, a fog, a fog of our purpose, a fog of who we are, a fog of the universal. Do I even have faith in this process? Do I feel good enough? Do I feel unconditionally lovable? Do I feel like I'm worthy to have that prosperity and money, career, business, relationships? So if you have any questions now, please ask it before I continue on to part two of this conversation. But if you don't have questions, of course, I would understand. So let's get to part two of how do we manage that ego mind? How do we become the master over our ego mind? Because that's the key. The key is not to destroy it. The key is to manage it. The key is to say, okay, you're going to serve me because I'm going to become the master and now you're going to serve me. Whereas in the other scenario, the ego mind is the master and you're serving the ego mind. So we want to switch it around. We want you to become a master of your ego mind. We want you to become a master of it. And so, one of the things that you want to do, the first thing you want to do is really set a powerful intention. Say, from this day forward, from this moment forward, I am the master of my ego mind. I am the master of my ego mind. And the ego mind works for me, it's subservient to me. The ego mind will become subservient to me. Set that intention every single day. It could be the first thing in the morning, but you could wake up and say that intention. I am the master of my ego mind. You could say something simply as that. And so once you set that intention, then you say, I have full awareness of what I am thinking and feeling and what I am bringing into my ego mind. I have full awareness. Set that intention to have that awareness because it's only when you have an awareness of what you're bringing in or what you keep thinking that you can reverse it, that you could start to strip it away of those things that no longer serve you. You know what I'm saying? Hi, Ella Watson. Oh, welcome to the live session. How I'm so glad that you joined us. So it's really about having that first awareness. The awareness is everything. Because if you don't have the awareness, you can't catch yourself. You can't catch that ego mind. You can't manage it. You can't say, okay, now you're subservient to me. You can't do that, right? So, but you have to set that intention. The intention is so important because when you set that intention, it's as if you're shooting an arrow to that target and you want to shoot that arrow to that target. That's what intention setting is. It's like, you're shooting an arrow and it could miss, it could go in all different directions. But when you set an intention and you keep setting that intention and that intention is clear, you're going psh, and it's bullseye. That's why intention setting becomes so powerful. And I do intention setting all day, every day, all day, every day. Even when I go in my car and I drive, before I pull out of the garage, I set my intention. I set my intention to thank you for allowing me to arrive safely to my destination. I bless all of the cars around me so that I may arrive safely with flow and ease to my destination. So even something as small as that, which really isn't small because you want to prevent accident, right? So that's a big deal. You want to prevent accident. So I'm always setting intention throughout the day. When I go walking, I do the same thing with my dog. I said, thank you for allowing me to have a beautiful walk with my dog, Happy. Meet beautiful people, my neighbors, see beautiful things, the ocean, the tree, the bush, the beautiful community. I set my intention. When I sit down before I work, I set the intention to be productive, to get things done in a timely fashion. So that's the first thing is to really have an awareness of what thoughts, no, to have to set that intention and to have an awareness. Okay, so how do you have an awareness of what you're bringing into your ego mind? How do you create that awareness? Because how much information are we absorbing every minute? Like if we're looking at our phone, like I was at the airport and everybody was on their phone, everybody. Like nobody was looking up, nobody was interacting, everybody was on the phone going like this. Think about how much information we're bringing in from our phone. How much information are we bringing? Everybody was like this. And I was observing, I was like, wow. I was like, wow, that's how dependent we are on our phone, right? And a lot of those people are going to be on social media or they're chatting with others, but a lot will be on social media and they're taking in a lot of information. And so the second thing is to set it, it's to be aware that of what information you're really taking in and allowing to come in. Or if you're having conversations with people, let's say you're in a group or you're with family or your friends, having awareness of what you're allowing to bring in as you're having this conversation. Now, people can say something to you that may not, as I'm having conversations with people, I am actively thinking I am actively measuring and discerning whether that information is right for me. Actively while they're talking to me, whatever the topic may be. It could be a topic about startup companies, right? Because I go to a lot of conferences to do with startups and this whole startup ecosystem. So I was for 3.5 days. I had so in 2.5 days this week, I had so many conversations with so many people, and they were all very useful. And as I was having conversation with them, I was thinking, oh, does this resonate with me or not? I was making a determination right there and then. And the reason why I was doing that is because I wanted to, for the things that didn't resonate me, I wanted to just leave out. I didn't want it to come in. I wanted to let it go right there and then. I didn't want it to even have a chance to come in. So as people are taking, we're having conversations, I'm always measuring whether it's right for me, whether it aligns with me, whether it's resonating with me. And that's called discerning. I'm not judging the person. I'm just being discerning whether that information is right for me or if it resonates with me. And if it doesn't, I just throw it out immediately. It's as if I've just taken that data and put it in the garbage immediately. And so you want to start training yourself to be able to do that in real time. To be able to do that in real time, like, does this resonate with me or not? Right there and then. Because if you don't and you're just absorbing it, and again, the more you absorb it, the more, because of law of attraction, the more that type of information is going to come in. And it's going to start building that momentum. And you don't want to do that. If there's information that really doesn't serve your highest and best interest, you want to put it in the garbage right away. Because if you take it in and you say, oh, wow, yeah, then the universal forces by law of attraction will show you more of it. And when it keeps showing you more of it and you keep bringing more of it in, it's going to create a problem. And so all you're doing is programming. It's all about programming. But the programming has to be in a way that aligns with your infinite potential, your expression of yourself. It can't go against that, because if that programming goes against that, that's when you're going to have a lot of problems in your life. And so you're being discerning about that, and you're doing that in the real time. You're basically like a sieve. You're weeding it out in real time as you're getting information in real time. That's really, really important, is to start practicing that. Start paying attention to what people are saying or what is being shown to you on social media, and be proactive about whether it's something you want to take in or you want to leave out in real time. That's what that is. Okay, so do you have any questions? Because I have a second part to this. Hi, Tim. Oh, that's so cute. Hi, Ella Watson. Hi, Perry. Um, Jax 10 said the phone has ruined real human connection. Yeah, it's a two-sided coin, isn't it? On the one hand, it's incredibly convenient. On the other hand, you're right. It has, to some extent, ruined real human connection. It's like it's a two-sided coin, right? It gives us so much convenience, yet it has also dehumanized us in some way. So it's a two-sided coin. I absolutely agree with that. Okay. Perry, you always have the most beautiful wisdoms. I don't even know. I feel like you're like a poet. I feel like you're just like this beautiful poet. I mean, where do you get these beautiful wisdoms and beautiful ways of expressing yourself? It's just amazing. Here's one where we miss the whole magnificent experience of life unfolding moment by moment with wonderment and joy in our choice of our focus. Yes, so true. And it's so beautifully said. It's like as if you're like a poet. You're like Rumi or something. I could not have said it better. Engagement with reality, moment by moment, with wonderment and awe in your unique journey with passion and delight. Beautiful. Hi, Corey one. How are you? Oh, I'm so glad that you were able to catch me live. You're welcome. So, the topic today is about stripping away the ego mind to manifest success. And so now let's continue. So now the first way I talked about having an awareness is information that from the outside world, whether you're going to let it in or not. And you want to be extremely discerning of that. And you're going to make that decision from real time, not after you've let it in. So then the second part where I think this is where we struggle a lot the most is that we have allowed that information that does not serve us in for too many years, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years. We've allowed it. And now it's buried in the subconscious mind. It's buried more in the deeper mind. That's when you're going to have it's going to be harder to reprogram because now it's deeper in the subconscious mind. And then we start to behave by default in a way that aligns with that deeper subconscious mind. And so if for, let's say, 10 years, we've said to ourselves, yeah, I've always been poor my whole life, right? I've never had money, right? And you've repeated that for 10 years. Think about how every cell in your body feels poor. Think about it. Think about how poor you feel, not just in the deeper mind, but that deeper mind informs your cells in your body. Every cell, every part of your body, you feel poor. And think about and then as you're doing that, you're broadcasting that low frequency lack of abundance signal to the universe, right? And then the universe, because it matches you where you're at, you you see more lack of abundance, more poor in your life, right? And so it becomes like this vicious cycle, as if you can't even get out of it because now you've been poor for the last 20 years, last 30 years, last 15 years. Becomes like this vicious cycle, vicious, vicious cycle. And so how do you start to, what are the things that you start to do to really deprogram that part of the mind that really has now put you in this pattern or cycle of life that no longer serves you because it's so deep. It has so much momentum. It has so much control over you that now you're just in this cycle, in this cycle, in this cycle, in this cycle. And so this is the part that where you you want to first acknowledge again, setting that intention. You want to set the intention that every single day you're going to find something in that deeper mind. One little thing you're going to find that does not serve you, that you've believed over the last 10 years, 15, 20 years. And write it down. Write it down. Set that intention. I'm going to find out what one thing today that I have been saying to myself for the last 10 years or 20 years that no longer served me, that I know that does not serve me, that keeps me in this lack situation, that keeps me poor. What is one thing that I've been saying my whole life, you know, that keeps me? And write that down in a journal. Write it down in the journal. And then when you write it down in the journal, find out, why do I keep saying this about myself? Why do I keep saying that you might say, I am poor because I did not get an education to make money. That might be something that you've said all your life. Like, I wish I had gone to college, and because I didn't go to college, I didn't make money. But there's lots of people that didn't go to college that have made money. College is not the determinant of whether you're going to be able to make money or not. Actually, I've met people that went to good colleges, and they're some of the poorest people. I've met that. So you want to know why you keep saying that to yourself. What are the reasons why you keep saying that limiting belief about yourself? Why you keep holding on to it? And then you want to say, why do I keep holding on to this? Is it really true that just because you didn't go to college that you can't make money? Absolutely not. It's like a myth. There's lots of people that dropped out of college or that didn't even graduate from high school. I think my cousin, he's a multimillionaire. He didn't even graduate from high school in Korea. When he came from Korea to the US, he didn't speak a word of English. And to this day, his English is really bad. But why does he have money in the bank? Why does a man that even barely even graduated from high school have money in the bank? Why? So you see how it's a myth to make that association that, oh, I have to go to college to be able to have money. I have to have this education to be able to have this money. It's not true. It's a myth. So you want to find out what is behind it. Why do you keep saying this belief that's not necessarily true about your life? Why do you say? Is it because all the company, like so many, it's because everybody else says it, because society keeps saying it? Is that why? Is that why that you keep saying it? Because society is repeating it to you? And then if you say, yeah, society keeps telling me this, now you know why. If society keeps repeating it to you, then over time, it's called propaganda. It's called programming and propaganda. You're going to believe it. And so then you could discover, I have been saying this about myself that I do not have an education. That's why I can't make money for the last 20 years, last 10 years. And this is a myth. This is not true. It is not true. And you want to state that out loud. You want to say, this is not true. Money, education does not equal making money necessarily. Education does not equal making money. And especially now because we have AI and you could get knowledge through AI, right? You don't have to go to school anymore. School no longer becomes going to become the transfer of knowledge. I think schools can be used in other ways, but it's no longer, it's getting less and less useful to transfer knowledge. It's going to be more about how we're going to use that AI to learn things in new ways, but it's not really going to be about transferring knowledge because knowledge you can get through technology. And so that's something that you have to really say to wow. And then you have to be really aware that, and then you could say, I let go of this limiting belief that I need a college education to have money. I let go. I let go of it right now. Or you could write it down and you can burn it and send it off to the universe. So you keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that exercises of looking at what it is that you've been saying to yourself. Write down and say, why? Why do I keep saying it to myself? Oh, it's because society keeps saying it. But just because society says it, is it true? No, not necessarily. And then then once you know the reason and you say, wow, this reason isn't valid, that's when you can let it go. And keep letting it go and keep letting it go. And you will see that the accumulation, you're deprogramming your mind to you're deprogramming the mind that does not serve you, and you're reprogramming the mind to empower and support who you really are, your potential that God has given you, your talents and gifts that God has given you, your unique path, your unique soul, your unique journey. And I'm telling you, some of the most successful people I have met have not gone to college. They have not gone to college. So that's the steps of how you start to strip away bit by bit that ego mind, that side of you that no longer serves you, that does not really support your potential and does not support the highest expression of who you are, that does not support the highest expression of who you are and how you can express it out into the world in this time space reality, what you call life. And so that's the stripping away process of the ego mind. We're not saying that we're completely getting rid of it. What we're doing is we're going to manage it. It's not going to become our masters. We're going to become the master of the ego mind. Okay, so I hope that has helped you. Do you have any questions or anything like that? Okay. Ella Watson says, my cousin is the least educated in our family and he is the richest in our family. he also comes from impoverished background. He is richer than the educated. He runs successful business. See? Exactly. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And think about it. If your cousin believed that he needed an education to make money, do you really think that he would be a successful business person? No, no. It's because he didn't believe that about his life. He didn't believe that about himself. He didn't believe that he needed an education to make money. He didn't believe that. That's why. That's the reason. What a great example. Jax 10 says that is true. AI will be the new teacher someday. No, it's the new teacher right now. It's not someday. It's actually happening right now. But I know what you're saying, Jax. You're saying that the education system won't look the way it does, right? I get what you're saying, but it's happening right now. Anything that you want to educate yourself, you can through technology and through AI. So that's the beauty of it. Perry says, we are all worthy of a place of peace and learning to live with harmony and peacefulness with nurturing and enhancing our skills of generosity of heart and mind. Thank you so much, Perry. Okay. Botanical 8, Bro 888 says, school, especially in the US, is for the purpose of training, not educating. Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying. Ella Watson asks, what are your thoughts on transmutation, specifically negative thoughts? Okay. I think that there are negative thoughts for a reason, and it's your opportunity to transmute that, right? It's your opportunity to say no. No, it's your opportunity to say no. No. To have control over that. Now, does it mean that we're always going to be positive 24/7, 7 days a week? Absolutely not. We're human beings, right? We're not going to be positive 24/7, 7 days a week. It's not going to be. Life is about ebb and flow. It's about ebb and flow, peaks and valleys. And so when during the times when we are more in the valley, maybe with some negative thoughts, that's our opportunity to go back up to the peak. Because you can't have dark without the light. You can't have light without the dark. The precursor to the peak is because of the valley. And so how you see negative thoughts is this is my precursor to transmute it. How do I give a different meaning? How do I transmute the story to one where I'm starting to go back up to the peak? So life is like this. It's never going to be like just going like that. It's like this, and it's this journey of going the peaks and valleys that allows us to transcend, that allows us to expand and grow. Because think about it, if you think about when are your greatest learning moments? When are your greatest learning moments? The greatest learning moments is usually when you're in the valley, not at the peak, right? Because when you're at the peak, there's no reason to learn. There's no reason for it, right? So it's usually when you're in the valley that forces you to learn and grow and expand. And that's the purpose of that. Okay? So there is a purpose. You just have to understand what that purpose is and not see it as life is unfair or I'm a victim, because once you start putting that narrative, that's when you stay in the valley and you're never going to go up the peak. So if you keep perpetuating that for longer periods, you're going to stay in the valley and you don't want to stay in it. You're using it as the precursor to going up the peak. Okay. So beautiful. Paris says, Ala Watson says, today I caught myself thinking that money's hard to make and decided to transform this thought. Thank you, Ella. I really appreciate you for doing that. I give you so much credit for doing that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And keep doing it. Practice it. Practice makes it perfect or towards perfection. There is no real perfection. The perfection is that life is a journey. That's the perfection of life, that it has its peaks and valleys, it has its ebbs and flows. And understanding that is the perfection. It's not that, okay. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Ella. Thank you for doing that. Um, Hi, Parrot. Only focus on what you love and care about, positive attitude and understanding through our discernment. Thank you so much. Okay. Living is a great adventure of learning. Absolutely. I agree. Thank you so much for your poetic words. Okay, so if nobody else has any questions or things to add, then let me just do a quick recap that our ego mind is there to serve us, not to become our master. So, what we want to do is we want to become a master to our ego mind and have the ego mind serve you, the master, serve your soul. Because when you strip away that ego mind and you get to that core of that onion, which is the seat of the soul, that is when you understand truly that you are an infinite being of infinite potential. And I mean that when I say that. And that your ability to manifest and your ability to express yourself in the highest level at that point has no bounds. So know that the ego mind is there to serve you as a master, not to become the master. So with that, let's do a closing prayer and I'll bid you a beautiful weekend. Dear God, angels, spirit guides, center masters, divine creator, thank you so much for allowing us to create the sacred space on the topic of stripping away our ego mind. Thank you so much for guiding these beautiful souls in this room. What beautiful souls that they truly are to their highest potential, to their infinite expression of who they truly are, and to allow them to manage their ego mind so that they could become a master of the ego mind and not allow the master to become not allow the ego mind to become their master. So we're so grateful for this beautiful exchange of energy that we have every week in these live sessions, and deeply grateful that you empower us to recognize these wisdoms that you send forth, recognize them in a profound way. So we're deeply grateful for your continued support, your continued guidance, your continued wisdom, your continued protection, and most importantly, your unconditional love. And so it is. Namaste. Okay.